What's going on, people? My name is Mike, and I use Linux. Thought that I'd start a little video series on basically just outlining some of the experiences that I've had with Linux, some of the challenges, and some of the things that I've done to resolve those challenges. I've been a Linux user for about 2 years. Prior to that, I used Mac. I had a Mac PowerBook. But like I said, I've been into Linux for about 2 years. Recently, I put together a computer. It was actually my first time doing so. I hadn't ever built a computer before, so I had kind of two challenges going on. One, just the basic challenge of figuring out how to manage the building component of it, but also building a computer that would, work with the operating system that I'm using, which is Linux. Right now I'm running Ubuntu 14.04, the new LTS. Prior to that, I was using Mint 16. I love Mint. I like really like the Cinnamon window desktop environment. But I moved to Ubuntu primarily because I just wanted to kind of settle into distro where I could get into the LTS, didn't have to worry about too much about reloading an operating system. For those of you familiar, like when you want to update or upgrade the operating system for Mint, you have to reinstall. So I'm settling in, didn't want to deal with that hassle just right now, so with using Ubuntu for now. So but back to the other piece I was talking about, the building of the computer. The major challenge that I had, I don't even want to say that it's major, but the main challenge that I had in building this computer and getting everything to work was really figuring out how to, or excuse me, which wireless card to use. I wanted to find something that was as close to out of the box compatibility as I possibly could have. So that being said, I went to my local computer store where I purchased all my other components from, and I actually, when I was looking through the selection in the store, I came across the ASUS PCE N15 wireless card. Now, I'd often kind of defer to the ASUS products, primarily because a lot of the products have driver support, and this particular one has driver support. A lot of hardware components, especially the wireless cards, many of them, if you take a look at that box, which is a thing in itself. I mean, if I could just kind of go into that just real quick. I mean, I've always been of a habit of looking, at a box for compatibility, because prior to being a Linux user, I was a Mac user, and particularly with shopping for software, when I went to the store, I'd always have to go and make sure that when I pick something up that that I would check the back or the side or wherever it is of that box to make sure that that Mac was supported. So being in that habit over many years, I kind of carried that habit over to Linux. So ASUS was a brand that I deferred to a lot, because I found often that when I would go to a store, look online, I would see Linux mentioned as a supported operating system. So picked up this wireless card, understanding that I would have to load the driver in order to get it to work. Took it home, installed it, attempted to load the driver and install the driver, and for whatever reason, be it my hardware or some error that I was making, or maybe it was a compatibility issue with the kernel, because I do notice, like I did notice in the specifications, this particular card mentioned kernel 2.6 or something like that, and I know that we are several iterations beyond that, but for whatever reason, I had a very difficult time installing the driver for this wireless card, and because I couldn't install the driver, the system would not recognize the card. So went back to the store after several hours of trying to get it to work. Went back to the store, returned the card, went back home, took a little time to do a little research, and did a little searching around the web, and found a page from the Ubuntu community help wiki that's titled WifiDocs Wireless Cards Supported. And basically this page pretty much outlines and makes recommendations on the kind of card that you want to look for. It makes a list of, and I'm sure it's community contributed, of all the cards by manufacturer that have been tested by the community. And if I clicked on one of these, let's click on ASUS, my card may even be in there. The cool thing about this is that it lists the model and the chipset, which is something that I didn't pay much attention to before. But it's asked if it was supported, installed in the system, and it also left a space for comment. So some people would say it works out of the box. Some people would say, well, it works, but you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to get it to work. So it's a very, very useful tool. So what I did was I took this tool. I actually had it on my phone, and I returned to the store. I could have done this online, but I was kind of in a rush. I wanted to, sometimes I just kind of like going to a physical store, holding the product in my hand, talking to someone with it, even though sometimes that's not a productive use of my time. But I came across, when I returned to the store, this particular card. Now this is the D-Link Extreme and Desktop PCI adapter, model number DWA552. Now I'd seen this in the store the first time I went, but I kind of dismissed it because of the fact that again, going back to that, looking on the back of the box habit, I didn't see anything listed for Linux, so kind of dismissed it. But after referring to the wiki, I found that the DWA552 works out of the box according to whoever tested it. Now again, this is community contributed, but the one thing that you need to know, and the main thing that I learned about this, a very important thing, was this right here, the chipset. Each card has a certain chipset, the wiring, the setup, and there are certain chipsets that are more compatible with free and open source software, such as Linux. So if you actually go back, if I go back to the main page, the wiki kind of speaks on this. And item 1 under the first paragraph says the Free Software Foundation recommends a few chipsets, including the Raylink, the Realtek, and the Atheros chipsets. So I learned that as opposed to really looking for the brand, what I did instead was I started focusing on the chipset and finding a brand of wireless card adapter that used that chipset to give me a greater chance of being able to just kind of plug in the card and have the kernel recognize it. So that's what I did. I took this card home, I plugged it in, and the system recognized it right away. Did not have to load a driver. So that was just kind of my lesson and experience with wireless cards, is that, and I know moving forward when I'm shopping for a wireless card, sure, I'm going to look for, the features. Wireless cards come with their varying levels of, strength and as far as the reception is concerned and quality. But, I want to go for a plug and play experience, and I'm going to look for the cards that use one of the three aforementioned chipsets. So that's my 2 cents on wireless cards and Linux. I hope that could be what I've just explained could be of some help to someone. Please feel free to leave any comments or suggestions to this video. Thank you, and I'll talk to you. I'll be returning soon with another video.